Hi everyone, my name is Denier and welcome to my channel. This is my story. I was born in a middle-class family in Brazil in 1968. When I was a teenager, I fell out of place. I didn't like the music, I didn't like the culture, and I didn't understand why. Am I a bad Brazilian? Because, all my friends like everything that was Brazilian, but me. I like American music. I like American cars. I like American movies. I watch the movies obviously in Portuguese uh, because I didn't speak English back then. And so at about 17, 18 years old, I start telling my dad that I want to go to the US. He even offered me to open a business for me if I didn't want to go. And I said, no, I want to go to the US. At first, he didn't believe me, I think. Uh, but I kept telling him, and he said one day, "Are you absolutely sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure. I want to go to the U.S. I didn't go to college, but it wasn't because of that. I just want to go to a place where I belong, and I knew that was the U.S. Somehow I knew. I didn't know much about there. I just knew what I saw on TV and what about things people say about US. So I start telling my dad, he said, okay, I'll help you. So I didn't know how I was going to go. Back then, visa was very hard to get. And I met somebody that knew somebody that could take you to US through Mexico, illegally, obviously. But, and I thought, hey, what the heck? I'll try. I sold my motorcycle and my dad was going to give me the rest of the money. So the day that I sold my motorcycle, I'm home alone, and my sister-in-law called me. Well, my future sister-in-law called the house. I answered. She was looking for my brother, or she knew where he was, but he didn't have transportation. I don't really remember. It's been over 30 years ago. But my parents weren't home. I sold my motorcycle, and even if I had my motorcycle, it was raining that night. So she asked me to borrow my grandfather's car. So I did. I borrowed my grandfather's car, and I went to get my brother. She needed him for their wedding rehearsal. So we were driving towards the wedding rehearsal, me and my brother, in the rain. Uh, it was early night, but very dark. And we were driving in a two-lane avenue with a median, like 4 feet wide median with some trees. And some lady came out of the middle of the trees, from the median to the middle of the trees, right in front of the car. I swerved. I tried not to hit her. I didn't hit her, but I hit the front of the car in one tree and the side of the car in another tree. And it's weird because when you get in the accident, you usually get like feeling weird. You don't know if you hurt. You kind of in shock. But I just look at my brother and he was fine. I just opened the door and start chasing the woman. I don't know. I wanted her to pay for the car because the only thing that went through my mind was like, oh my God, I just sold my motorcycle. Now I'm going to need to use the money to pay for the car. And I was panicking and I'm chasing the woman in the rain. And my brother started screaming at me, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop. She doesn't have money to pay for the car. I mean, obviously, it was a poor woman. This woman, she was screaming, running toward the gas station. And I'm like, and then when I heard my brother screaming, I started thinking, I'm like, oh my God, what I'm doing, that's right. How is this woman going to pay for the car? Okay, so uh, in the end, my brother paid for the car. So we start the journey. My dad gave the money that he promised me. I went to Minas Gerais. The coyote was from Minas Gerais, and we start our trip. We flew to Panama. We were 15 people with him and 14 more. Yeah, one of them was his nephew. So when we got to Panama, we were like in a 5-star negative hotel. Oh, it was a dump. There was the old part of Panama, not that beautiful, nice part of Panama. We didn't have a lot of money, so. But 15 people were too many to go from Panama to Mexico, so he split us in two groups. Me and 5 more guys stayed behind. One of them was his nephew, and he took 8 people with him to Mexico. It turns out they got caught and they got arrested, and we stayed in Panama with very little money. So we were eating one sandwich a day, like those sliced bread with ham and cheese and tang. Most of you actually, I don't think you knows what tang is. Is that thing that you mix with water, which is not very healthy. And we went, I think, 15 out of 20 days that we were in Mexico, we were hungry. When we were running out of money, we took the ham out. So it was like a bread, cheese, and tang. Uh, when we were hungry, we went to sleep. The hotel was paid for. We didn't even have money to pay for airport taxes to go back to Brazil. So, uh, 6 proud young men, didn't want to call our families. I mean, that was the first time we were out of the house. We were about 20. I was 20 years old. The other kids were about my age, maybe a year older or a year younger. You know, we all about the same age. And so we were hungry and we didn't know what to do. When finally one of the boys got some money and we went back to Brazil. The worst time of my life. Well, not the worst time, one of the worst times of my life. No job, no money, no motorcycle. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, a couple months went by and I got a phone call. It was the coyote's nephew. Hi, Daniel, how are you? I'm like, it's not a good question, right? But as fine as you can be, as I can be. And he said, do you want to try it again? What do you mean try it again? Yeah, do you want to try to go to States again? I'm like, who's going to be crazy to try to go again? And I said, I got to talk to my dad. Of course, I'm crazy about. I I really want to go. So I'm like, yeah, I want to, but I need to talk to my dad. And he said, look, it's going to be $500 each. And I knew he didn't have money, and I knew another kid didn't have money. And 2 of them gave up. They didn't want to go anymore. So it was only 4 of us. And as I knew they didn't have money, I knew that it was going to be $250 each. But as I didn't have a place to stay, and they didn't know because I was supposed to go to California, and that didn't work out. They lived in Florida. So I talked to my dad. He gave me the money. And there we go again. This time we flew to Guatemala. The idea is to go from Guatemala through Mexico and cross the border in Mexico. So we got in the airport and we're going to do everything by bus. When we got in the bus in Guatemala, I thought I lived in a third world country, but I never seen anything like that before. The bus looked like a petting zoo. Oh my God, I never seen so many animals inside the bus. It was chicken, it was uh, pig, and oh, I don't know. It was like, it was weird. Very hot, very hot. So we started our journey. There was a lady across the aisle from me eating food out of a banana leaf. She was like eating like this, and she was like, she offered me some food, and I'm like, I was a spoiled kid. I was not gonna eat that, but it was the nicest thing that happened to me in this whole trip. It was so beautiful, so nice of her to offer me the little that she had. If you enjoyed, stay tuned for the second part and please help us out by subscribing. Thank you.